It looks like victim's death was between 3:30 and 4:30 yesterday afternoon. The significant amount of blood on the walls and bruising on her body indicate she was beaten to death, possibly by a blunt weapon. Our victim's name was Carrie Hudson, a student here at St. Teresa's Academy. Amanda gathered personal effects and found the girl's wallet, money, and ID still present, so I think we can rule this out as a mugging. And we have determined the weapon as the paint can Kathy is presently dusting for prints. We have also sent the blood samples to see if it matches our victim and possibly, since there is evidence of struggle, our murderer.
I will send this with Madeline to the labs right now to start running the test against our witness and victim's prints.
It looks like we have a shoe print over here near the door. I would assume the blood it was made with is our victim's.
Probably. I will contact Madeline and have her run a test. We can use the picture Amanda took and cross-reference it with our possible suspects. Where were you between 3:30 and 4:30 Thursday afternoon?
I was up on the second floor of M&A working on the lights for student productions.
Was there anyone with you at that time to vouch for you?
Yeah, Gabby Farrow was with me at the time.
Did either you or Miss Farrow leave the balcony between 3:30 and 4:30 or see anyone entering the theater during that time?
I went to the teacher's bathroom near the paint room for a couple of minutes around that time.
And did you see anything suspicious near the paint room? What was Miss Farrow doing at that time?
I did see Gabby go behind the stage before I went in. I think she said she needed some gobos she left back there, but that's all she said.
And when you came out, where was Miss Farrow?
I don't know. She definitely wasn't in the lighting balcony.
Had Miss Farrow been acting weird lately? Did she have any problems with the victim?
I don't know about her acting weird or anything, but she did have a fight a couple of days ago with Carrie. Something about how she didn't like the way Carrie bossed her around, about the way she wanted her lighting for her play. Gabby was sick of Carrie acting like she knew everything about lighting when she didn't.
Did you have any problems with Carrie?
No, not at all. She was a little bossy, but I think the stress of being a director was just getting to her. Is that all you need from me?
Yes, I believe so. Thank you. Miss Farrow, where were you between 3:30 and 4:30?
I was driving home.
According to Mrs. Prentice, you were seen going backstage to the paint room at that time. The same time our victim was murdered?
Yes, I went back there briefly to find a gobo that I placed there, but I thought the lighting that Carrie had just didn't work, so I wanted to show her something new I thought of.
But as I understand it, you and Miss Hudson did not see eye to eye on everything. Is this true?
Well, we had our differences, but we kept it civil.
I've heard differently on that. It says here that you were seen yelling and harassing our victim 2 days before her murder. She called Mrs. Prentice to say she was scared of what you might do to her. Care to explain?
I didn't kill her, if that's what you're implying.
So far, nothing else has come up pointing otherwise. And your past record shows you have some anger problems.
Okay, maybe so, but I never killed her. But have you talked to Holly Fielder? She'd been hanging around there like the whole week, put Carrie more on edge than she already was.
And what do you think that is?
Well, Carrie seemed afraid of her all the time. I noticed she would stay later just to avoid Holly when rehearsals ended. Although there were times Holly did catch up to her. I overheard a conversation about Carrie owing Holly some money. She sounded pretty upset.
And was Holly there at the time of the murder?
I saw her standing around backstage before I went up to the paint room. But when I came back downstairs, I didn't know where she went. I just assumed she left. Then Carrie went back up to the paint room to find one of the props she left there. I never had a chance to talk to her about the new lighting before I left.
That's all for now. I'll contact you if I have any more questions. Miss Fielder, where were you between 3:30 and 4:30 the other day?
I was at a restaurant with a friend during that time. You can call him if you want.
I will. But for now, just tell me, what was your relation to our victim, Carrie Hudson?
I didn't really have a relationship or anything with her. Sure, we talked a couple of times, but it was really just in passing. If we were in class together or something, we would usually just say hi and leave it at that.
Yet according to Miss Farrow, you and Miss Hudson had some animosity. Apparently, she was afraid of you, and the last conversation you had to do with her owing you money.
I lent her some money so that she could pay for an advisory party.
Even though you two weren't very close and had advisories in different buildings?
She seemed desperate, so I lent her some.
Miss Farrow said it sounded more serious than that.
Gabby is always sticking her nose into other people's business. She loves any sort of gossip, and if none is there, she'll make it up, especially when it comes to Carrie. And then there's that temper of hers.
Did she ever threaten to kill Miss Hudson or harm her in any way?
She seemed pretty mad a couple of days ago. The two of them got into some huge fight. Something about the lighting.
You seem pretty familiar with everything happening at the theater. I didn't think you were involved in any shows.
My younger sister is on run crew, so sometimes I stay after so that I can take her home.
Thank you, Miss Fielder. That will be all. I will contact you if I have any more questions. Go. Okay.
It went that way.
I've determined that the cause of death did come from severe beating. I was also able to process the blood samples at the scene and found that they match our victims, but also one of the suspects, Gabby Farrow. Carrie did put up a fight at the scene from the defensive bruising around her arms.
And the shoe print we processed matched the same shoes Farrow was wearing during the time of the murder.
And her fingerprints were matched on the print can as well.
So it seems that Gabby, tired of having to put up with Carrie's attitude, took matters into her own hands.
The fight they had a couple days earlier was just a breaking point for Gabby. When Mrs. Prentice went into the bathroom, Gabby realized it was her perfect opportunity to strike at Carrie. Gabby went up to the paint room looking for gobos, but heard Carrie coming up the stairs. She ambushed her right as she walked in the paint with a paint can. They ran in a hurry, causing the bloody shoe print. What about Miss Fielder? Kathy and I checked into her alibi, and it turns out that her friend confirmed they were at the restaurant together, and her sister is playing a lead in one of the productions.
It seems we have our killer then. Gabby murdered Carrie out of anger and then tried to blame Holly for it instead.
Let's go pick her up.
think, but I'm completely innocent.
And why would we think that? All the evidence points to you. Your fingerprints were on the murder weapon, as well as a few drops of your blood with our victims. And how would you explain your tennis shoe print dipped in her blood?
I was framed. I didn't even wear tennis shoes that day. Holly framed me.
And why should we believe you?
Look, I didn't want to tell you this when you interviewed me because I was afraid they would find me.
Who?
The Italian mob. The money thing I told you about, well, I think Carrie owed them.
So you're saying that Holly framed you for a murder the mob actually committed? And how do you expect us to prove that?
There's a camera in the STA parking lot at the entrance. It should prove that I was driving away at the time of the murder.
It looks like you were telling the truth. We need to find Holly.
Holly Fielder, you are under arrest for the murder of Carrie Hudson.
It was Gabby Farrow! I had nothing to do with the murder of Carrie Hudson! And I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
Actually, you had everything to do with Miss Hudson's murder. The crime boss for the Italian Mafia sent you to clean up some loose ends. Carrie hadn't paid the money she owed you for supposed protection, so you decided to pay her a visit. After asking for more time, you figured out that she was informing on you to the FBI, which is why she asked for more money from you in the first place. Since you had been hanging around the theater, you knew the comings and goings of the cast. Your sister in the student protection also provided the perfect cover. When you saw Mrs. Prentice leaving the room, you knew it was your perfect opportunity. You waited until Gabby came back to the paint room and told Carrie to meet you up there. When she came up, you waited for her with the paint can. You planted a footprint to look like Gabby's, but what you forgot was that she wasn't wearing Sperry's that day. As for her fingerprints, she moved the paint can to find the gobo and accidentally cut herself on it and left many fingerprint markings.